Hi, I'm Muju, a solutions architect at Amazon Web Services. In this video, I'll dive into the 5 essential preventative controls that are the foundation of a secure and compliant AWS environment for financial services. On the agenda today, I'll explain why financial services organizations need preventative controls. Then I'll walk you through service control policies and resource control policies and how combining them creates a strong data perimeter guardrail for your workloads. Next, we'll dive into the 5 essential preventative controls to keep your FSI workloads secure on AWS. And finally, I'll share key documentation and resources to help you get started. Financial services firms face unique challenges on AWS that make preventative controls essential. First, regulatory requirements are constantly evolving, and many are principles based, meaning institutions must prove they have guardrails in place rather than just meeting a checklist. Second, the security threat landscape is highly dynamic, with new risks emerging daily across fraud, data exfiltration, and insider threats. Third, the industry demands stringent reporting and documentation, so controls need to provide evidence of compliance in real time. And finally, without preventative guardrails, developer agility suffers. Engineers either move too slowly out of fear of breaking out of compliance, or they take risks that expose the organization against threats. That's why preventative controls aren't just a best practices, they are a foundational necessity for financial services industry on AWS. A service control policy, or SCP, is an authorization policy that sets the maximum permissions an IAM principal can have within your organization. For example, you can use an SCP to prevent a member account from leaving your AWS organization. These policies can be applied at multiple levels: the organization root, organization unit, or individual member accounts. RCPs, or resource control policies, are preventative controls that help you establish a data perimeter in your AWS environment and restrict external access to resources at scale. For example, you can use an RCP to ensure S3 buckets are only accessible by principals within your organization. Like SCPs, RCPs can be applied at the organization root, an OU, or at the member account level, and both are available to AWS customers at no additional cost. To summarize, SCPs enforce consistent access controls on principals, while RCPs enforce consistent access controls on resources. Both are preventative controls that can be used independently, but they are most powerful when combined. For example, pairing SCPs and RCPs allows you to build a strong data perimeter around both your identities and resources. In the next section, we will explore how financial services organizations can deploy 5 essential preventative controls with SCPs and RCPs to keep their AWS workloads safe and secure. Financial institutions must often comply with strict data residency requirements, where regulators mandate sensitive data remain within specific geographies. Controlling which AWS regions can be used is therefore critical for maintaining compliance and reducing regulatory risks. This SCP helps enforce these requirements by denying access to operations outside specified regions. In this case, no resources can be created outside US East 1, allowing exceptions for necessary global services. In this case, AWS organizations, Route 53, and Amazon Security Token Services. And finally, providing exemptions for designated administrator roles. To implement this policy, simply replace the region placeholders with your approved regions and update the global services list to match your organization's needs. For your convenience, across each of the policies in this video, I have added a QR code to the policy itself. Feel free to pause the video at any point and scan the QR code. Second on the list of the preventative controls for financial services is preventing accounts from leaving the AWS organization. This service control policy blocks member accounts from removing themselves. Why is this critical? In regulated industries, every account must stay under centralized governance for auditing, billing, and compliance reporting. Accounts leaving the organization presents a significant risk as they can bypass security guardrails, centralized logging, and established preventative controls. This creates both regulatory blind spots and unacceptable security risk for financial institutions. By enforcing this policy, FSI organizations maintain continuous oversight of all the accounts, ensuring compliance with internal policies and external regulatory requirements. For financial industry customers, security services like GuardDuty and Security Hub are the foundation of your threat detection, compliance, and security posture. This SCP prevents unauthorized users from disabling, stopping, or tampering with AWS security services. For an FSI customer, that means your core monitoring and logging controls remain continuously active. And by enforcing this preventative control, FSI organizations ensure their security services remain resilient, tamper proof, and aligned with regulatory expectations. Now we will look at some resource control policies that act as strong preventative controls for your FSI workloads. This resource control policy, for instance, enforces that all requests to supported AWS services must use SSL. For financial services institutions, this is a fundamental preventative control because it ensures that data in transit is always encrypted and never exposed over insecure channels. Regulators expect strong encryption for all data exchanges within the FSI vertical. By enforcing SSL at scale, you're reducing the risk of data leakage while driving compliance for standards like PCI DSS, thereby strengthening your customers' trust. Next on the list of preventative controls for FSI workloads is preventing public exposure of sensitive data. This RCP ensures that the S3 block public access setting at the account level cannot be disabled or altered by users. By enforcing this policy, you guarantee that your default stance is no public access, regardless of human error or malicious intent. It's a preventative guardrail that helps FSI organizations meet strict data privacy regulations while protecting the confidentiality of customer and transaction data. As a bonus, let's look at one more critical preventative control for FSI workloads, protecting KMS keys. This RCP prevents accidental or intentional deletion of AWS KMS keys and restricts that action to only specific trusted roles. For FSI workloads, KMS keys often protect the encryption of highly sensitive assets. If a key were deleted, all data encrypted with it could become inaccessible or permanently lost, creating massive operational and regulatory risks. By enforcing this policy, you ensure encryption keys remain safeguarded, access is tightly controlled, and your organization maintains compliance with encryption mandates such as PCI DSS. Think of this as a strong layer of resilience for your security foundation. Let's summarize what we learned from this video. We started with why financial services organizations need preventative controls. Then we explored service control policies and resource control policies and how combining them builds strong data perimeter guardrails. Finally, we looked at 5 essential preventative controls to help keep your FSI workloads secure on AWS. In order to get started with SCPs and RCPs, I'll leave you with some helpful documentation. Feel free to pause the video at this point and scan the QR code to explore these resources further. Thank you.